Hello, it's Polish Paul VR, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got some really good about virtual reality version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, the one we cannot wait for. Also, we're doing the review of Demeo meets Dungeons and Dragons, plus I'm gonna do review in progress of RoboQuest VR, but also we've got some other PlayStation VR 2 news, including a new BMX Game announcement, and some other bits and bobs. Hitman, oh my god, Hitman is just getting awesomer and awesomer. Let's go, but before I start, if you like what you're seeing, then please press a like because it does help the channel a lot. Subscribe because it helps me grow and stay relevant, and I super appreciate it. And now truly, let's go! And we are starting from the review of Demeo x Dungeons and Dragons Battlemarked. Demeo x Dungeons and Dragons Battlemarked lets you experience that classic Dungeons and Dragon vibe in virtual reality. And quick side note, the game works flat too. You gather your party, dive into forgotten realms, and the whole thing wants you to feel like you just stepped into a proper tabletop session. But does it actually achieve that? Is it good, or does it suck balls? Let's find out. Quick disclaimer before I continue, the game was provided to me for free ahead of the release, but as always you get my honest opinions. Starting with controls, and we're gonna focus on VR controls. You're using your sense controllers and pretty much everything is physically based. You pick up your hero to tell them where to go or what to do, and you can grab your enemies too, which reveals their statuses, immunities, weaknesses. It's very handy for planning. You can also grab the word to move the camera around, zoom in, zoom out, rotate, all of that stuff. It works, but sometimes it's tiny bit fiddly. I noticed if I move my hands close together to zoom in and out, if they too close, the camera will spaz out a bit. I would like to have maybe an option where there is a system where you can rotate and pan the camera using thumbsticks. One thing I really like though is the zoom mechanics. When you zoom in, the whole world scales around you, the board grows, the characters gets bigger, and it looks awesome happening right in front of your eyes. Very cool touch. They clearly wanted to keep button inputs to a minimum in virtual reality, and it mostly pay off, but a few extra button based conveniences wouldn't hurt. Now, I'm gonna mention the elephant in the room that stepped on me a few times, and this is the tracking issues. Because the entire game takes place below you, you're constantly looking down, which means your headset cameras are also pointing down. Sometimes when you try to grab a character that is far away across the map and drag them closer to you, your hand ends up kind of like above your head or somewhere outside the tracking range, and that's where you get a bit of a wobble. A simple pull towards me button would help fix this. And considering most buttons aren't even used, maybe even a nice PSVR 2 hand tracking option would add some fun to the game as well. Another small gripe I've got is long session can turn you a bit into like a Quasimodo. There is no option to tilt the board forwards. Not even a subtle tilt, you don't have to move the whole world, the whole room the game is placed, but just the board, moving the board, tilting the board would save your spine a bit, because you're constantly looking down. Sense controllers give a nice little tactile feedback when selecting cards or taking actions, but overall the haptic lacks punch. No headset rumble, no dramatic vibration when you smash multiple enemies at once, and PSVR 2, with all its fanciness and fancy unique features, is begging for that kind of physical excitement. But to give it credit, the controls are extremely intuitive. Even for newcomers like myself, the tutorial is short, clear and very well made. Once you get going, it feels natural immediately, so overall, controls are great. A few extra options would make them even better. The game supports both single player, where you control your party, and multiplayer, where each player controls one character, or I'm assuming if you got not like 4 players, then two characters be controlled by one. You know, it's just they make it work, I suppose. I don't know. I didn't play multiplayers. I had a chance to play single player only for this review. Before you start the game, you choose from 6 hero: Paladin, Rogue, Ranger, Sorcerer, Bard and Fighter. Each has different perks and abilities. My go-to squad was Paladin, Rogue, Ranger and Fighter. A nice mix of damage, utility and survivability. All characters are voiced, and they are voiced very well as well. More on the audio bit later though. There is a progression system, but it's pretty light. You unlock some perks and new weapons, but your stats doesn't change. I personally prefer deeper progression, but I get why they kept it simple, probably for parity for multiplayer. Only your main character will be able to progress, rest just kind of hang around there. Speaking of characters, you can customize them as well, so you can change colors or names, abilities. Nice touch to make it more personal. Also, as you level up, you can unlock cosmetics like different dice, different plate for your characters. Nothing too fancy, but once again, nice touch. Once your party is set, off you go into your Dungeons and Dragons adventure. There are 2 full campaigns included: Embers of Chaos, which has more serious tone and is slightly more difficult, and Crown of Frost, which is as interesting, but with more light-hearted and fun vibes. Throw more enemies at you, but they are easier to kind of bypass, and you get more health fountain, which basically are one-time health packs for the whole party, and more chests packed with some goodies like good cards and shit. Both campaigns are around 8 hours long, plus I've not even done all the side quests yet, so there is tons of content here. Both campaigns have proper quests, side quests and loads of lore. Huge shout out to the writers. Both campaigns are engaging, full of twists and mystery, and they feel different in tone, pacing and style. Really well done. Combat is turn-based, each hero has 2 move points, and cards can use 0 or 1 of those points, so you can chain together some nice cool tactical plays. The cards variety is huge. You get healing, poison, explosion, long range attacks, traps, immobilization, elemental damage, unique class abilities and plenty more. You can discard unwanted cards to fill your card meter, open chests or use the fountains to heal, or you can spend gold in the bazaar between dungeons to buy new cards. It's a proper tactical system with lots of flexibility, plus there is plenty of barrels with different effects you can explode. The environment will play a role in your tactics as well. There's also a sprinkle of chance and luck added. Dice rolls can boost your attack or screw you over. Adds tension without being annoying, well, most of the time. Since sometimes I think there is some priority on that motherfucking school. Every time I had something really cool planned, I rolled the school of bullshit. So annoying. I'm assuming it's just a chance and it's just me getting frustrated with it though. Speaking about chance and annoying, there is a good chance that the card you want to use will get discarded for some reason. Hitbox on the discard button is size of the whole map. I'm sure it will get patched eventually, but still it's so annoying because I have to turn my hand around so the cards are hidden before I use it, because sometimes a good card could just vanish. Dungeons can take up to 2 hours to clear. Once you clear them, you can replay them in one-shot dungeon modes as well, and they feel long, thoughtful and fun. They can be crammed with dozens of enemies behind every corner, so you need to be very thoughtful and tactical in the ways you can approach them. You can kind of bypass the opponents, but you're still gonna have to get the key from one of them. And also there will be some that block in the exit, so you're definitely gonna have to make them disappear. On top of that, the game has some really thoughtful and well-designed boss and mini-boss encounters. Everything comes into play: your cards, chance, the environment, your hero's abilities, and it all blends into this perfect little cocktail of chaos and strategy. Bosses have patterns, traps, weaknesses you need to exploit, and when it all clicks, it feels great. There is no difficulty setting. but the balance feels spot on. Just the right mix of challenge, failure and reward. Graphically, the game looks good, not AAA, but extremely polished. The hero figures and enemies look great and have charm. The environments are well made too, though I would love the maps to be more dynamic, more ambient movement, more life, little touches like swaying trees, some animated critters or birds, some leaves blowing over, just stuff like that. What's there looks good though, sharp enough, even though I don't think the game is running at PSVR 2 native resolution, or if it is, the aliasing system might be adding just slight tiny bit of softness to it, which I pretty much expect every time I see Unity engine game in VR, but to be clear, it is not blurry and it is clean, just a bit static and slightly soft. The game is bright, colorful and pleasant to look at, with good textures, solid models and decent lighting, though I would love to see the developers play around with lighting a bit more. The colors don't quite pop the way they do in some other PSVR 2 titles. The game, it is colorful, but it's not PSVR 2 HD OLED colorful. Still, to be clear, it does look really good overall. Here's where few things go slightly downhill. The game feels unstable, like I don't know if my next action will crash the game unstable. Thankfully, autosave is generous. Unfortunately, each campaign only has one save slot. I had a few crashes and issues. I edited them out of review now because every time I reported them to the developers, they quickly fixed it, so the developers are listening, but the stability issues remains. It is a big constant issue that I've been battling throughout the game. It plays good, but at times it just feels that bit unstable. And also, I would like to have even more manual save slot, just in case your game, crashes so bad that your save is fucked. Now, anyway, going back to the good stuff. The audio is excellent, voice acting is top tier, expressive, fitting and fun, very professional. Not a hint of that indie game / lower budget title we saw many times in VR games. Music is epic in battles, calm in menus and very dynamic overall. Classical instruments fit the theme perfectly. It got this very nice cinematic fantasy music score that fits the game and action perfectly. I did have a weird bug where the music would stop, but other sound effects stayed, and it was very eerie, but overall audio is very good. If they pair this great audio with better haptics on PSVR 2, it would be a killer combo. So, Demeo x Dungeons & Dragons Battlemarked is a game I really want to give a 9 out of 10. It's fun, addictive, charming and written with so much care, and for 29.99 quid, the amount of content you get is absolute steal. But the technical issues, especially the crashes and the single save slot per campaign, it does hit hard sometimes. So for now, it's still a very solid 7.9 out of 10, still recommended, still absolutely worth playing, and I'm proper itching to jump into the next campaign when it drops, but some things needs to be ironed out, more choice in control and options maybe, they need to be added, but most importantly, the stability of the game needs to improve. This is a game made by a bunch of really cool people, really talented people, and it shows. I want to play more of it, just without any crashes. But also, side note here, I never played Demeo before and I never was into Dungeons & Dragons or any sort of tabletop game, to be honest, apart from playing Monopoly with family at Christmas. But I really like this one. I really like Demeo, I really like the stories they presenting to you, how they are written, the whole lore of this Dungeon & Dragon vibe. It all really pulled me in and I cannot wait for more. Now we've done fantastic Demeo, let's speak about another quite big release, which is RoboQuest VR for PlayStation VR 2. The PSVR 2 review codes landed a bit late, so I've only managed to get around 5 hours into this one. With some PSVR 2 games, that's enough time to finish the whole thing and walk away with a fully formed review, but RoboQuest. After 5 hours, I feel like I've barely scratched the surface, so instead of rushing a full review, which wouldn't be fair for this game, I'm giving you my early impressions so you can find out is it good or does it suck balls before you spend your money. I received the key ahead of the release for free, but as always, you getting my honest opinion. You play as a robot revived by a scavenger girl who drags you along on a mission to figure out how to keep humanity alive, and the solution is simple. Go on a glorious robot murdering spree. A lot of VR devs play it safe, slow the game down, nerf the AI, or kind of water things down a bit, like for example in Borderlands 2 VR, they slightly done that. Still, miss that one though, I love you Borderlands. But, coming back to RoboQuest. RoboQuest doesn't give a single shit about that. The devs basically took the VR rulebook, said fuck it, let's set it on fire, and launch this game into full gear instantly. The game is fast, like really fast. Enemies everywhere, loads of different types and all of them with different abilities. Constant pleasure, platforming, race sliding, jumping, strafing, sliding. It's that Doom 2016/Eternal Energy but in virtual reality. So I mean a proper Doom, not a shitty Doom VFR for pussies. RoboQuest is relentless, and it's relentless in the best way. Visually it's okay, it's not perfect, slightly soft looking, some jagged edges, a ton of LOD popping, so like, you know, things kind of shaped a bit the closer you get, especially trees. Once you notice it, you will see it. If you don't notice it, don't worry, you won't see it. Now you will, because I told you. But anyway, art style is a bit simple and the textures could be higher resolution, but the amount of enemies on screen is ridiculous for VR title. PlayStation 5 is juggling all that combined with their pretty smart AI, plus rendering everything twice, and somehow it still works. That alone is an achievement. Plus, it still looks better than most of the 300 plus games in PSVR 2 catalog. It currently runs in repro motherfucking injection, which I usually don't mind, maybe a bit sometimes. I mean, it can be annoying, but for a fast-paced shooter like this, a clean native frame rate would be a nice touch. Thankfully, the developers are already working on it as I'm speaking. Even with reprojection though, it still feels good to play anyway. This game is packed, I still haven't finished the main run yet, and there's tons left to discover. Upgrade system, different classes, a massive range of weapons, procedurally generated levels, tablets to find, alternate paths, perks and modifiers, so much to do and so much to fight for, all accompanied by a soundtrack that absolutely slaps your ass and senses while trying to blow your eardrums at the same time. It's this god tier VR gameplay. Everything is ultra fast, chaotic, fun and loud as fuck. Even as self-proclaimed roguelike hater, especially VR roguelikes, because let's be honest, most of them are shit anyway and boring. This one is already winning me over. It's deep, well designed and surprisingly addictive. I don't even know the flat version existed until the VR port was announced, and even then when it got announced I wasn't expecting much, just another cartoony looking shooter. But here we are and I'm absolutely loving it so far. So after 5 hours, around 5 hours, the verdict is totally positive. Easily in the top 10 PSVR 2 releases of this year so far, and it's in the end of the year, and I still have ton left to uncover, which makes me happy. Full review and the game score is coming soon, but I think it's pretty safe to buy it now. Okay, and now let's move on to the PlayStation VR 2 news section of this video. And first up, we're gonna talk about brand new Dreams Virtual Reality bundle on PlayStation VR Store, and it includes sign-ups, which is still one of the best showcases of PSVR 2, eye tracking, tech in action. I've always said more people need this game in their library. When I first played it, I was thinking, this one is going to be new Super Hot VR. it's so cool. Sadly, I was wrong, again. But still, I think Synapse deserves more than what it got, and you also get Reach. Now, the launch was, putting it lightly, rocky, but after patch, it's in a slightly better state. I still think it needs few more patches, but a lot of players are enjoying it now. Put those two together and you get a solid value bundle. Its price is set as at 39.99 quid in UK, $49.99 in US. Now, moving on to the next story, Flight Simulator just pushed out a fresh update to their open beta, and this one is very virtual reality heavy, which is great news as we're getting closer to the PlayStation VR 2 version next year. This update tackles a bunch of VR specific issues players have been dealing with. The virtual reality toolbar now works properly in external view, which was a long-standing annoyance. Panel states now save correctly when switching in and out of virtual reality, so you don't have to constantly reset your cockpit. The aircraft HUD is now properly plugged in for VR, and you can turn it off in the settings. It is important because it used to behave differently inside and outside of VR. They fixed visual effects that were glitching out whenever materials went invalid, which previously resulted in weird wireframe squares instead of proper effects. There are also some important EFB fixes. The tablet is now accessible in VR even if there's a cockpit screen behind it. And those random black arrows showing up in numeric fields are gone. Marketplace users should be happy with that one as well, because the marketplace becoming inaccessible after long sessions has been finally fixed. And coming back to VR, one last VR fix, a broken velocity buffer was blurring the sky in the right eye, causing that odd smear effect that now is resolved. Plus they fixed a regression where zooming into certain northern US airports would freeze the sim if your terrain detail was set too high. So overall this update is very VR focused, which is exactly what we want to see as the PSVR 2 version gets closer. Great signs that VR stability and usability are getting attention. Now next story is about Hitman 3 and latest Elusive target Eminem and Slim fucking Shady. Now I don't want to talk too much about it because the trailer is absolutely beautiful, so let me just shut up and let you watch it because that's how good it is. Me talking over it would be just a nuisance and an annoyance.
Listen up. I don't usually ask for help, but this isn't just another target. It's the crazy part of me.
Okay, and now let's talk about the brand new BMX game announced for PlayStation VR 2 that you can wishlist it now. The gameplay I'm showing you here is from the flat version. Always spit on flat people with the flat versions. Because, of course, VR is better. Anyway, as you can clearly see, it is absolutely shit, like properly terrible, but, and this is important, the PlayStation description for the virtual reality version make it sound like a completely different experience, but obviously it won't be, it probably will be shit, if not shittier as well. According to the store listing, this is meant to be an immersive virtual reality cycling adventure, where you are hopping on your trusty bike pulling off tricks and exploring different environments. You earn points by doing stunts, then spend them on new bike models with unique designs. They promising 4 unique environments: city streets, parks, rooftops, and even a radioactive wasteland, all designed for ultimate cycling adventures. You've got realistic bike physics, a bike shop with unlockables, and 3 to 4 missions per locations to keep you progressing. So on paper, the VR mode supposed to be fully immersive, physically reactive, mission based and actually fun, but obviously this is one of those shovelware games that will probably suck balls big time. Next story, we need to talk about Puzzling Places. It has just dropped a brand new pack, and this one is called A Painter's Dream. It's a really calm, atmospheric little escape, a soft riverside scene brought to life with warm light and gentle colors. You piecing together a world where sunlight shimmers on the water. Swans drift past water lines, and a cozy cafe sits quietly in the background with the low hum of conversation. There are small boats drifting by, a wooden bridge arcing over the river, and an artist right there on the bank, capturing everything in flowing brush strokes. It's one of those puzzles that's all about slowing down, noticing the tiny details, and just sinking into the peaceful afternoon vibe. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, then please press a like, because it does help the channel a lot. And if you're new to the channel and are not subscribed, then subscribe. It's always better when it's more of us. And that's it. Bye 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 bye.